Hey guys, welcome back to the study collection. So today's video is probably the most requested video ever because I will be talking about how I grew 50,000 followers on Instagram in less than a year and basically give you all the tips and tricks that I think helped me to blow up in order for you to learn how to grow your own studygram. But disclaimer first, I never started this page with the intention of growing. That just came naturally and I'll explain why in a second. So I started the page back in April 2020, a couple of weeks into the first lockdown, and we hit 50K on March 13, 2021, so about 11 months after I started. And while this still feels mind-blowing, there are a couple of things that I'm pretty sure helped me to blow up. So without further ado, I'll just talk about them and give you all the tips. So first off, we're going to be talking about a couple of things that concern you and your own content, and then later on I'll talk a little bit about the Instagram algorithm because that obviously plays a pretty big part in growing your page on Instagram. Let's start with you and your content first. Tip number 1, ask yourself, why am I doing this? If you just want to share your daily study journey to hold yourself accountable during the lockdown, that's perfectly fine, but it might not lead to growth. I decided to create my own studygram because I was so inspired by other studygram creators out there that I thought I wanted to start my own. And so to inspire and to motivate others has always been my main goal and still is. So my posts that share study hacks or motivation tips perform so much better than the ones where I just give a life update or something like that. Number 2 is find your niche. While the travel and photography industry on Instagram is super oversaturated and thus it's really hard to blow up in there, the studygram community is still fairly small in comparison at least. It's still not too late for you to start. Tip number 3, come up with a unique handle. It took me some days to come up with the study collection, but I wanted the name to be something that reflects the contents on my page. So study tips, office aesthetic, and lifestyle, basically a collection of all these things. And B, that is easy to pronounce and spell because then it's also easy to remember. I've noticed that it's better to avoid dots and underscores because when people type your name in the search bar, they are not going to remember where the dot or where the underscore exactly was, so they're not going to find you. Choose your own name if you're happy to share that or something else that is unique to you and easy to find. Tip number 4 would be to come up with a unique and consistent style. First off, create a cool profile photo that either shows a photo of yourself or has your handle in it, and Canva is definitely the best app to do it. It literally comes with thousands of free templates and really cool elements to create. Also, think of what message you want to convey in your bio. If you're a studygrammer, it would make sense to say what you're studying, maybe sharing the name of your school if you're comfortable with that, and also mention what people will find in your gram. So for example, the first thing in my bio says study tips and office inspo, so that's pretty straightforward and everybody will know what to expect. Tip number 5 also has to do with the style, because by a unique and consistent style, I also mean consistent editing. Since I'm a photographer, I have some experience with semi-professional editing in Adobe Lightroom, but you can really use any free editing app. The best thing to get a consistent editing style is to use filters or presets, which are basically filters you just make yourself, and then apply them to all your photos and just twist and tweak around a bit so they fit the style of the photo. You might want to change your style after a while, which is totally fine. Just keep in mind that you're probably going to lose followers over that who are just here for this specific aesthetic that you had, which is fine too. What's important though is please don't copy other creators' style. You can obviously look to them for inspo, but I mean, they're already there and people don't need a clone of them. They want to see what you can create. And bonus tip, use an app like Unum, which is also free, I think, in the basic plan, to plan out your feed and just see what fits and what looks good. Tip number 6 is short but also really important, and that is share valuable content. Like I said before, the posts on my feed containing study tips always perform best. Why is that? Because people are interested in what tips I have for them, so they actually read the caption even if it's longer, and they stay on the post longer, which is something that the algorithm notices. Tip number 7, be consistent. So as you can see, consistency plays a pretty big role when you want to grow. So throughout the first couple of months, I tried to post a photo daily, shared a couple of stories every day, and so on. Because people who discover your page are less likely to stick around if they see that your most recent photo is from like 3 months ago. That being said though, it's important to take time off socials. So nowadays, when I feel stressed or when I feel like creating a post for tonight would make me feel stressed because I've got a ton of other stuff to do, I just don't do it. After all, I'm not trying to earn a living from this. So in other words, please always put your mental and physical health before any of that social stuff. Last but not least, in the content section, tip number 8 is be authentic. If you're comfortable sharing your name and your face, that's perfect because you're going to be much more affable to people. If not, that's fine too. Just share your unique thoughts and experiences because that is what people are here for. One last bonus tip in terms of your own content that I almost forgot is equipment. And I forgot it because it's really not that important. So even though I own a pretty expensive Canon DSLR camera, I take the photos for my Instagram account with my iPhone 11 Pro because it does the job perfectly fine. And then I directly import them into Lightroom where I edit them. When you're starting out, just grab your phone or whatever camera you have and just start taking photos. They're not going to be posted to Instagram with such a high resolution that you would need a pro camera, definitely not. Other than that, all my equipment that I use for both Instagram and for making my YouTube videos is linked in the description box down below, so just click the links if you want to shop. So that is it in regards to your own content. Unfortunately, there's this thing called the algorithm and it's pretty hard to predict. So you can basically have the best content out there and then still not grow because the algorithm is not in your favor. So let's talk about some key things that I learned and that I think work. At least they work for me. But yeah, better take this with a grain of salt since the algorithm seems to be changing constantly. Tip number 1 here would be find the right time to post. Convert your page into a creator account so you get the insights and then see when most of your followers are active throughout the day. As for me, that is around 6 p.m. my time, so Central European time. That works best for me, but it might be in the morning for you, depends on where you and your audience are from. Also, 6 p.m. just seems to be the best time for me compared to sometime throughout the day when I might be on the go. Tip number 2 here is also very important, and that is use the right hashtags. Generally, you want to use hashtags that are specific to your niche, but you don't want to start out with hashtag study because hashtags like that have hundreds of millions of posts. So the chance that your post will pop up on the Explore page is close to 0. So instead, type in different tags in the search bar and then see how many posts they have. So ideally, when you're starting out, you're using hashtags that have a maximum of 10,000 posts. And then while you grow, you can obviously use better hashtags. So I usually use hashtags of around 200 to 400,000 posts, some smaller, some bigger. The mix is key. And generally speaking, finding the right hashtags for you is just experimenting a lot, trying out different things. Definitely don't use the same bunch of hashtags every time. Don't copy and paste because the algorithm will recognize that as a bot and then block or shadow ban you, and you don't want that. So try to come up with different combinations of hashtags that work for you in every post. And I usually use all the 30 hashtags you can use. Other creators might say you should just use a handful of them. That's also something you just gotta find out for yourself. And another tip is look to creators' pages that are a little bit bigger than you and see what hashtags they're using. Try a bunch of them, but again, don't copy and paste other creators' work. I have one last big tip for you, which is hands down the most important one. So congrats if you sticked around until this point, and that tip is engagement. Engagement is key because Instagram is supposed to be a community of giving and getting, and that's what the algorithm wants to see. So there are tons of different ways to do this. I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I have done, and just mind you that this is actually the most time-consuming part of the whole content creation thing, obviously next to the content creation itself. So what are some things that you can do? Number 1 would be follow other creators of about the same size and a little bigger than yourself. Plus, also follow your favorite creators. Why is that? Creators of your size are most likely going to follow back and engage, but your favorite creators, if you comment on their posts and share their posts and whatever, they might just notice you and give you a shout out if your content is good. But please don't ever ask for shout outs. That's like a huge no-go. Also, you should follow back people, but don't follow back everybody. If you're growing and you're following back everybody, you'll end up following thousands of people, and obviously you can't engage with the content of thousands of people. So I try to keep it to around 300 people that I follow because I genuinely enjoy their content and I make sure to interact with everything they post. And that doesn't mean that I don't interact with people that I don't follow. That is very important too, but keep that number to a manageable amount, let's put it like that. Speaking of interaction, you obviously have to like, comment, save, and share other people's posts. So currently the algorithm seems to favor the save option, so support others by just doing them that favor. You can create a folder like support saves and then another folder with the stuff that you actually want to save, so they're all sorted out, but that's like the thing that seems to help most at the moment. Also, if you comment on others' posts, which you should definitely do, then make sure the comment is longer than 4 words and not just some emojis, because those will also be thought to be bots by the algorithm, which is not good for you and which is not good for the creator whose post you're commenting on. Some other tips would be to make stories with call to action buttons like polls, countdowns, swipe up links if you have more than 10,000 followers, but don't overdo it. And then another thing you can do is host SFS sessions, so shout out in your stories. But again, don't overdo it. Nobody wants to click through 300 shout out slides, whatever. You should also follow some of the hashtags that you're using in your own posts, like study grammars, Germany, whatever, if you're from Germany, to interact with the most recent posts under these hashtags and then discover new people and be discovered by them in return. A good way to create interaction, to create traffic to your page, is to ask questions in the caption. A good idea here is to place them both at the beginning and the end of your caption, because people who are not going to read the entire caption might read the question first and then directly respond to it in a comment, and then those people who actually do read your caption might have forgotten about the question. So if you put it again at the end, they're going to be reminded to answer the question. Here it's also important to try and come up with questions that are actually related to the thing you're talking about in your caption. Like if you're talking about study motivation tips, you can ask if your followers have tips that you didn't mention. That way you can spark a conversation in the comments. If they give you a good tip they have, you can also ask another question to keep the conversation going instead of just asking, what's your favorite color? And then speaking of interaction, definitely do reply to your comments. This will become harder the more you grow, obviously, but people will want to follow someone who they can be in touch with. So like I said before, answer their questions if they have any, try to ask them questions in return, go to their profile, comment on their photos as well. Obviously the same goes for DMs, and generally speaking, the first hour after you post is key, because the algorithm will show your post to only a bunch of your followers, and if they like it, comment, share it, whatever, then it will be shown to the rest of your audience. So you should make sure that you are able to be active within that time frame, and that is why it's important to choose a posting time that fits your schedule. So don't just put out a post in the morning and then rush to school or work and just vanish from Instagram for the rest of the day. That is not gonna work. And again, just be a social human on Instagram. Just interact with others' content and they will interact with yours in return. See Instagram as what it is intended to be, and that is a community. So I genuinely enjoy the conversations I'm having with you guys about all kinds of different topics, and the fact that I've really made a bunch of friends on the gram, that's just such a cool and rewarding thing for me. So that is it. I'm sure there are like tons of other things that might be helpful. These are the ones that I used and that led me to a community of 50K. So to sum it up, produce valuable, unique content consistently, learn how to use the algorithm in your favor, and interact/engage with your community. I really hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, and comment down below. Let me know what you learned from this video or any other tips that you might have. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already for more content like this. Also become a part of the study collection on Instagram. And if you're new to the channel, then hi, my name is Lisa. I'm a study grammar based in Germany. On my Instagram, the study collection, I mainly share study tips and office inspo on a daily basis. And then on this channel, I also share study tips, but also my college experience, lifestyle, mindset, etc. So definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.